In March 2025, when a Barcelona filmmaker named Gemma Blasco premiered her directorial debut feature at the prestigious SXSW Film Festival in Austin, Texas, few people in the American film world knew her name, yet her work would eventually land her among Spain's most celebrated emerging artists and cement her place in a generation of directors reshaping European cinema. Born in Barcelona in 1993, Blasco spent her 20s and early 30s studying at some of the world's most rigorous film schools, including the legendary EICTV in Cuba, where she trained under the paid mentorship of Abbas Kiarostami, the Iranian master filmmaker whose influence would shape her entire artistic philosophy about the power of images to transform consciousness and invite audiences to see the world differently. Her feature debut, La Furia, arrived in Spanish cinemas on March 28, 2025, just weeks after its American premiere, and immediately drew international recognition, earning her the prestigious Premio Gaudí for Best New Direction and a nomination for Spain's and most important film award, the Goya for Best New Direction, an extraordinarily rare achievement for a director making her first feature film in such a crowded and competitive landscape where new voices rarely break through so decisively and completely. What makes Blasco's emergence even more remarkable is the personal journey she described when she won the Premio Princesa de Girona Arte in July 2026. An award presented by Spanish royalty that recognizes extraordinary talent in young artists across all creative disciplines, when she spoke candidly about not seeing herself represented in cinema during her own formative years as a viewer and filmmaker, about how other female directors had to fight for spaces that she now occupies, and about how those pioneering women taught her that her own vision and perspective deserved an audience and met a place on the screen. Her artistic philosophy combines what she calls the intimate and the collective, stories that begin in personal experience but radiate outward to address larger social realities and universal human truths, a sophisticated balance that appeals both to international film festivals predisposed to challenging experimental work and to general audiences seeking authentic emotional connection and moral complexity in their entertainment. Her earlier short film Jauria won recognition at the prestigious Sitges Film Festival in 2018, and she directed an experimental feature called El Zoo that premiered at the prestigious International Film Festival of Gijón, yet it was La Furia that catapulted her into the European consciousness as a voice that mattered, that had something important to say about power and vulnerability, and how we process collective and personal trauma through narrative cinema. When Infanta Leonor, the Princess of Asturias and of Girona, personally handed Blasco the Premio Princesa de Girona award at the Gran Teatre del Liceu in Barcelona on July 14, 2026. It represented not just individual recognition, but a validation of a new generation of socially conscious artists committed to using their craft to challenge audiences and expand the possibilities of how cinema can function as a force for consciousness and change. For American film enthusiasts accustomed to thinking of European cinema primarily through the lens of established names from previous generations, Gemma Blasco represents something genuinely exciting, a young artist from Barcelona who studied internationally, learned from masters, and now returns to her own cultural context with a fresh voice, creating work that speaks to universal human experiences while remaining rooted in specific Spanish and Catalan realities, a local to global sensibility that characterizes the best contemporary European cinema and distinguishes it increasingly from the more market-driven approaches often dominating American filmmaking. And